bit shit, but
Yeah.
actually, you know what? This time around, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone is just sort of over it.
Yeah.
So it really
Yeah.
hasn't changed too much stuff, but
Yeah. I think everyone's just like figured out how to get through it now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
fucking go
just work
like
around
yeah,
everything.
work around everything. Yeah. But you would have probably fought, bro? Like July, right? You had something lined up, or you had already fought by
Uh,
then, by the time the lockdown went. Because you had a did you have a boxing fight? Like you did, right? You fought in Yaguna, right?
yeah, I fought
Yeah.
early June.
Oh, early June.
I was gonna fight in July and August,
Yeah.
um, but obviously they can't
Yeah,
go ahead
obviously.
now.
Yeah, yeah. So I just been training and shit.
Not really. Like
Yeah.
like during the lockdown, not going to full force and stuff. I kind of got lazy. Even like
Mm,
with my diet, like I was just like, fuck,
yeah.
just
It's
no
hard, eh?
motivation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
motivation to want to
Yeah.
continue training.
Yeah.
I set myself a goal now to run the Nepean River, which is like 6.5K,
Cool.
6.3K every
Nice.
day for
No.
like the whole lockdown. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that now slowly,
Yeah, nice.
trying to work my way back into training. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard without the actual gym. Like
Yeah, yeah,
try and
yeah.
do at home shit, but
Yeah. I
it's
had
not the
my
same.
mate.
The
I had
environment's
my
different.
mate come. Yeah, I had my mate come over yesterday to hold some pads. I've like you. I've kind of set a goal to just keep running. But even then, it's just yeah, man. Just having the beauty of being able to go into a gym, and just like being able to
Yeah,
train, have the facilities and stuff. It's just a different environment, man. So
yeah.
it's
Being
always
at
tough.
home, if like in between rounds, I walk inside, I'll see my mum, I'll see my sisters, they'll come out, and it's just
Yeah,
like that. I'm
yeah,
not in the zone. Whereas when
yeah,
I
yeah,
go to
yeah.
like full force or something, it's like I'm there, like I
That
have to work, I
environment,
have to do it, and
yeah,
then I
yeah,
fuck off. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How you been otherwise, man? How's things? You've been fucking active as fuck, huh? This year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Was that?
Trying last year, COVID
Yeah,
last year, so missed out
yeah.
on heaps of fights.
They just don't want to take a
So
chance. Yeah.
yeah, just trying to fucking fight every
Uh,
weekend, bro. Like if I
Yeah,
could,
yeah, yeah, man.
just
That's crazy. You
yeah,
just went on a mad tear. I actually knew the
yeah,
guy that you fought. Not personally. Tanner, the one that you fought in
yeah,
the
yeah,
boxer. Yeah, he was a
yeah,
kickboxer as well, right? Like he was in.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a K1. I remember because he trained out of Legends for a while, and I knew Johnny and those guys, the coaches in
Yeah,
Legends gym.
yeah,
So I recognized his face. I was like, oh shit, I haven't
yeah.
seen him in a while because he was overseas and shit. I think for a minute as well. So.
Oh, really?
Um,
I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was overseas for a while because I tried to like when my early inception of my podcast and stuff, I tried to get him on.
Yeah.
And I remember during that time he was going overseas or something. So I hadn't seen him since. But um, was that something just a goal you set yourself? Like you just wanted to kind of be active because you kind of missed out a little bit last year and stuff, or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and I'm an active fighter anyway. Even
yeah,
like as an amateur,
yeah,
I fought like I think my lowest year was 6 fights in a year.
yeah,
So I was just try and I set my goal every year to try and have 10 fights a year. That's my goal. That's
yeah,
the more I fight, the more people see me,
yeah,
the more
of
my name
course,
gets out there. I can take the bigger fights, get more experience and stuff like that.
yeah,
Um, so last year, right before COVID, I turned pro in February, and then I had March, April, May, and then 2 in June already booked. Um, so then after my pro debut, was training up for the next one. It was CM to Sydney. I was meant to fight Dion Beatty from Double Dragon, and then it got to fight week, and then COVID happened,
fuck,
and had to pull out.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was kind of a blessing in disguise because I needed
Yeah.
to get my wisdom teeth removed.
Okay.
So I ended up just getting my wisdom teeth removed earlier instead of later, which
Yeah,
benefited
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, other than that, like it was trying to be active.
yeah,
Then COVID, coming out of COVID, I fought twice in November, the first month that we could fight. So I was just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, fuck it. Like I'll bang them out.
yeah,
Then Christmas, no, there's no fight shows December,
yeah,
January
yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Had a big Christmas and then got the opportunity to fight on the Prince 8-man. So I just prepped for that.
yeah, yeah. How was that experience, man?
The 8-man was good.
Yeah,
That show was one of the best shows, probably the
yeah,
best show I've ever
yeah.
fought on.
I actually
Got
tuned in. I bought it and I ended up watching it that night. So it was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
dope because
It
obviously
was
Michael was on it, so I was interested to see if you guys would cross paths. Yeah.
I wish we did. That would have been sick. Like,
It would have been would have
I
just
said
been
in
cool.
the
You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, I said in
How would
the
how would the cornering how would that have happened? You would have to split the coaches up or something, or would Reinhardt would
Ren
have had
already
to?
told me
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be involved. He was like,
Okay.
if you guys fight, I have
Yeah.
to either
Yeah.
be in Michael's corner or I have to split, which I was fine with. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, if I didn't have a corner, I would still fight. I just
Yeah.
have it like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
that's all good. But yeah, the whole organization of it being looked after was the best.
Yeah.
The best I've ever had. Prince was the best
Yeah.
now, even still trying to get me onto the next fights. And
Yeah.
always like resharing my stuff and messaging me. Like, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
But the fight camp for that was fucked. That
Yeah.
made me go to the next level. That was killer.
Because you had to train in a way that you prepared to fight multiple times in one night as well, right? So which is a bit different than just preparing for like one fight. You know what I mean? Like,
it made every fight camp I've had after that feel like a piece of piss. Like, I went that. Have you heard like a lot of like Israel Adesanya talk about when he trains and he goes into like the trenches? He goes into the dark space.
Yeah.
Man, there were so many times where I was like hitting pads and Ren just would not let up. And I was in between rounds. So how we would train for it, would do
that was my next question.
Rounds.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah.
So we would do 4 4-minute rounds, have 20, 30-minute break where I would sit and either do nothing or I would do like a light run or skipping, something slow moving. I would warm up again, do 4 4-minute rounds, chill out for another 20, half an hour, not doing anything, do another 4 4-minute rounds. So I was doing 12 4-minute rounds every morning. And it, like, after the first 4-minute round, I was like, bro, I still have 11 more of these. Some days I'd crush it. I'd be like, yeah, like I'm unstoppable. I'm fucking, I'm going to knock everyone out in the 8-man. And then other days I'd get halfway through the first round and be like, I'm fucked. Like, I can't do it. And then I'd be sitting down in between rounds, gasping for air. The bell would go for the next round. And I'd be like trying to make conversation to try and get myself a little bit extra break. And Ren would be like, would be like, shut, like, fuck, 20 kicks. I was like, bro. So but
I bet you the breaks would have seemed faster too, eh? Once you started getting fatigued.
That was 30-second rest. Like, it wasn't a minute rest. It was 30 second. I was like, bro, I can't. In saying that, like, he pushed me, but then some days I'd rock up to the gym. I would do like a round or 2 rounds and he'd be like, all right, just go for a run and chill. And like, he would give me a day off, but it was just like a lighter day because I was overtraining. And so it was really good like that. But when the days that were on and the days that were high intensity, it was the worst I've ever been. Doing like 5 rounds on pads now, I'm like, yeah, this is chill. But before doing 12s, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Probably better for it in the long run now, eh?
I went through that and was like, okay,
and now you know that if you're going to go to that dark place as well, you know you're comfortable, right? Like, what was
now go on. I would like sit there in between rounds, like looking and being like, I can't do this, like I just can't. And it didn't matter what I felt. Ren was like, no, keep going. Like, I would try and find ways out sometimes, and he'd be like, no, keep going. And now, being there, I know when I'm exhausted, I can just keep pushing. There's that extra level, there's that extra gear that I found. So it benefited me long run, even though I lost. So it's good.
You're in your early 20s, is that right, bro? Like early to mid
22.
22, nice.
22, yeah.
How did you kind of get into like combat sports and stuff, man? How did you kind of get into Muay Thai and all of that?
So when I was younger, my dad left, so I was always with a single parent, with my mum, and she was in a few abusive relationships when I was like really young. So, and one time I remember her being pregnant with my younger sister, and the guy she was with at the time was making either bacon and eggs or scrambled eggs or something to do with eggs. And my mum was having morning sickness, came out, and he's like, oh, you still want them? Smelt it, like threw up and was like, nah, like I'm sick, like, nah, I don't want it. and he got really abusive and like pinned her over the sink and was like screaming in her face. And I just remember feeling so vulnerable and so helpless that I was 9 years old, and I was just so, I was meant to be the man of the house. My dad left. I'm the only one, like I'm the eldest in the family, eldest of her kids. I'm the only boy. I'm the man of the house now. Like it's my job to protect everyone. And it was, even though I was 9, it was just like, nah, this is fucked. I feel vulnerable. I feel helpless. I can't even do the one thing that I'm meant to do. So I didn't want to feel that feeling ever again. And then when I got into high school, I started getting bullied and ended up getting into a fight with one of my mates, thinking I knew how to fight, and ended up getting bashed. And so then I was like, nah, this is fucked. And while I was on suspension for that fight, I ended up getting a pamphlet in my grandmother's letterbox for karate classes, kickboxing classes, kung fu, all this list of stuff. And my mum was like, circle what you want to do and I'll see what I can do. I was like, all right. I ended up circling kickboxing, everything pretty much, kickboxing, karate, kung fu, MMA, jiu-jitsu. And she's like, nah, pick 2. So I was like, all right, I want to do the kickboxing and the jiu-jitsu. And she's like, okay. So I went to the kickboxing class first. It was only cardio kickboxing, like it wasn't like a fighter's class.
Yeah.
Didn't even bother going to the jiu-jitsu class after that. I just fell in love with kickboxing. And since then, that's been my life since I was 12 years old. She ended up marrying my trainer. So my stepdad was my first kickboxing instructor.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
That's crazy, man. That's
10 years later.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's crazy how it's just how little, I guess, situations in life, right? And the part that it kind of deflects you on a little bit as well. But I mean, like even going back to feeling vulnerable and helpless, that's like, because you said you had sisters, right? You have little sisters, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 4 little sisters.
Yeah, there you go, man. So it's like it's a natural instinct, let alone like, being the only boy as well and the eldest as well, right? That like end of the day, we're species just like animals, you know what I mean? So when we roll in a pack, right, you got to be protective, you know what I mean? So
exactly,
what was it kind of difficult for a long period? I mean, it's probably a bit of I wouldn't say it's a dumb question, but I mean, it was probably difficult to deal with those scenarios for a very long time. But was it something that, like I found, like, for example, with me, when I kind of I got into training at a latter part of my life, like I kind of went through something similar, not so much in your scenario, but like something dark through my own self. But I found like kickboxing probably in my early 20s, late 20s. I'm in my early 30s now. So, but did you find that it kind of instantly kind of helped you channel what you were feeling, or was it something that you were kind of you've been battling over time till you kind of found a way to really channel how you felt, because it's funny, right? Subconsciously, you'll be thinking things, subconsciously, you'll be feeling things, and you'll be doing things, and you don't sometimes realize that it's a result of how you grew up, right? And what you saw. But sometimes it's just fucking lingering over you and you just don't know. And then sometimes certain things trigger it. Was it martial arts alone that kind of helped you kind of channel all that kind of pain and what you felt, like that helplessness, to kind of alleviate that and find a way to kind of channel it through a healthy way? Or did it take work over time mentally as well with yourself?
It definitely work over time, because I grew up with it. It was sort of normal. Like it wasn't looking at it like, oh my God, this is so wrong. It was just like, all right, X1, like he's mad and it's my mum's fault. But there was something that was always like fuck you. Like it was always in me.
Didn't feel right.
When he would do that, I was like, it would really make me like feel weird. And I never knew what it was. But now, like, obviously I know it's wrong and I know that's not what I want to be like. So I'm the complete opposite. So as a person, a man, a partner, I'm very much easygoing and I don't get angry. I very rarely yell. For a fighter, it's like I very rarely get mad or angry. But if we're out, it's like that flip. If we're out there's one time that I can really remember being at Kmart, and I was with a girl, and we were just walking, we're having a conversation, can't remember, just like you and me right now, just chilling, talking, and I picked up on yelling, and it's something to do with yelling and loud voices that makes me switch. And I'm like, all right, nah, what the fuck's going on? I get really on edge, and it's fight or flight. Like I'm ready to fight. And like I turn, completely ignore her. Don't even know what she's saying anymore. I'm not in this conversation. Like it's not like I'm myself anymore. I'm focused on that. And it was some guy and girl, a couple screaming at another girl with kids. And it was that boom, my heart dropped. And it was just like, that's what I'm zoomed in on. And like I went over, I was like, don't yell, blah, blah, blah. There was no like fighting or anything, but it was that instant go.
Yeah, that
There was
trigger.
now
Yeah.
that trigger. It was that uncomfortable. And the
Mm.
moment that like there's a woman involved or kids involved, now it's like a weakness for me. I'd say it's the moment that I see someone, like guys, they can handle themselves, whatever. I don't really give too much. Like two guys yelling at it, I'm like a bit weary, but I'm like, whatever, you guys can
Deal with that shit. Yeah.
But the moment like a guy yells at a girl, it's like bang. And it's that deep. And I never really realized it until probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It wasn't that noticeable, but like even in school, if guys and girls would have confrontation, I'd be always in tune, always be staring and watching just in case something happened. But I never really noticed it until that time in Kmart that chick looked at me and was like, bro, like you're not yourself. I haven't seen this side of you. Like this isn't something that I see. I'm like, well, fuck. Like maybe my past, like maybe my childhood did impact me more than I actually thought about.
Yeah, that's why I asked you that question, because I know for myself, like even to this day, sometimes I'll do things. I'll look at my wife and then like I'll be honest with her, and I would tell her like I'm mature enough and older enough now to understand that things trickle down from certain situations in life. You know what I mean? And that's why I asked you, because, and the flip side to it is that a lot of people that do go through those kind of experiences end up doing it themselves. And it was good for you to kind of touch on the fact that, you know, that you kind of completely went the opposite way. And I would dare say that, you know, martial arts and just, you know, kickboxing and all that has a big part to do with it as well. You know what I mean?
Huge.
Because
just having,
like just not having the channel, just that outlet, right? And a healthy outlet, not like something that, because you could do things that can suppress it, but then it's going to explode, you know. Whereas something like kickboxing, or just even how you train and what you go through mentally and physically, spiritually, emotionally, it really centers you in a way that you get to really process how you're feeling. It's crazy. I tell people, like, even like, I mean, you of all people would know, like, even after a session or even during a session, you'd be very surprised what's going through your head. You know what I mean? Like you're there, but then sometimes you're not there. But then you're also processing like everything. At the same time, you're processing everything. You know, that's why I'm so big on just being active. And even my wife and stuff, I always push her to go. I mean, she's pretty active in herself, but like I always tell her, like, you need to have like your own time, you know what I mean? Your own like hour and a half. Yeah. Just like where
running is huge.
Whenever
whenever I like have a bad day or like get pissed off or something, especially like now I can't go hit something, but running if I run 6K, right? It's like half an hour. It's half an hour where I'm not here. Like I'm just going through the motions. I'm just running. Like I don't have to think about running when I'm running. I'm just doing it. And then in my head, I'm going through whatever anger, like whatever sitting in there. And then I by the end of it, I usually either find a solution or it's not that big of a deal anymore because I've just put myself through like some hard running. It's like, oh fuck, like who cares? This happened, like whatever, like fuck off. Like I don't really need to care about that anymore. But if it's like a big deal, then it's like, all right, now I've got that solution. And exercise itself is huge, like therapy. It's
massive. Yeah.
It's like, but back to what you're saying about like going either way, I could have gone down that path. It's like that saying, it's like two brothers grow up with their dad being an alcoholic. One of them became an alcoholic because that's what his dad, like he's seen his dad do that. One of them never touched the alcohol because his dad was always drinking. So it's like the two like sides of a coin, you know?
Mm-mm-mm. Well, it's like a perspective as well, right? It's like you can either play the you know, like I'm a victim or I want to be better. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So
exactly.
better than that. So it really just comes down to that perspective and the
Either
choice.
you live in your experience or you learn from your
Learn from
experience.
it. Exactly. Yeah. So then, how did you go about with Full Force? Like, how did you come across training with the Bedard brothers and stuff like that?
My stepdad, he originally trained at Full Force before he opened his own gym. He never had a fight. He was going to, but something happened. I think he maybe got injured or the guy pulled out. He never actually fought himself. Um, but then when I was training with him and me and my cousin started training together and we wanted to fight, that was like, all right, yeah, cool. Let's become kickboxers. Let's become fighters. It was just me and him. So we couldn't get that sparring. So my
Mm,
stepdad was like, all right, let's go to Full Force. And this was when I was 14. So my first fight was at 14. Um, we went to Full Force. We sparred with everyone at Full Force, got bashed. It is
mm.
what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and then ended up like we had our fights. I ended up fighting someone from Full Force anyway. And then I went, that was when I was 14. Then I stopped training for a bit, ended up training at Jab Out in Penrith under Glenn Purvis.
Hmm.
Had 2 fights under him when I was 16, stopped training until I was 17, got my license and was like, all right, I'm going to go to Full Force now. And it was all because I got bashed at Full Force
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I realized that I actually wasn't shit.
Mm.
Like being a 14-year-old, you think you're
Yeah,
top
yeah, yeah,
level
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like my ego was
That's
through the roof.
that's the beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second you get
Yeah.
into like I've been training for like 10, 11 years. I mean, I've been competing in amateur boxing, but I always say like the beautiful thing about what martial arts always taught is that your fucking ego goes out the door the second because
Yeah.
you think you're a big dog, and then I always say there's a bigger dog waiting for you in the gym. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Always. Always.
You're not ready to spank
It
your ass. Yeah.
happened. It happened recently. Like
Yeah.
I, in Full Force, like I'm higher up the ladder.
Yeah.
So when I go to Full Force and like kickboxing, I'm a kickboxer. I'm a Thai
Mm,
boxer. So
mm,
kicking is, and I'm a kicker when I fight. I like kicking. I like kneeing. I like elbowing.
mm,
My punching was always my downside.
mm.
And then when I swapped to boxing from the last 2 fights, I messaged Colin because I trained with Colin,
Mm.
and he brought me and Jesse down to his gym to do some sparring rounds,
Yeah.
and we got fucked up. Me and
Yeah.
Jesse both just got fucking bashed. We
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
bashed by amateurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're both in Full Force. We can go in there, and
Yeah.
without even like saying anything, there's already like no one's gonna just try to go hard
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, they're gonna go hard on me. So it's
Yeah.
like that
There's a
that
sense of
level there.
presence they know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas going to another gym, they didn't know
Yeah.
who the fuck we were,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we just got fucking towed up, and it was just
Yeah.
like, all right, well, I just got my ego crushed.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I learned way more.
Mm.
It was like better off me doing that
Mm.
because my ego tried to make me boxer.
Mm.
I'm not a boxer. I'm not a
Mm.
puncher. That's not
Mm.
what I do.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, I just got fucked up trying to box a boxer,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
out-technique a
Yeah.
boxer. I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I need to fight a boxer. So it was not just like having an ego check is good, but learning from it.
Mm.
Like I
Mm.
learned from that experience, and I know Jesse did too. So that
Mm.
was the benefit of it, rather than just being like, bro, we just got bashed, we ain't shit, like
Mm.
blah blah blah. It was like, all
Mm.
right, cool.
Because there's that misconception, right? Like yet you're a fighter, but I always say this is the beautiful thing about martial arts and all the different kind of branches of martial arts, because like you find out when you do all these different things, whether you end up going to judo, whether you end up going to whatever it is, each entity is its own. And if you've been in that game and you've worked hard at it, it doesn't matter if a fighter from another whatever another platform or another branch of martial arts comes in, it means shit compared to
Yeah,
the person that's been married to that game for so long that they know the
100%,
ins and outs, like
100%.
when I was so that's how I knew Jay. Like I was training at Bulldogs for a while. I fought out of Bulldogs in Casa Hill,
Yeah, yeah,
and then I injured my hip flexor, and then that's how I ended up going to boxing. And Ricky Colosimo, you would have seen him with Cohen sometimes, but he trains out of the Baljola Bombers, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I said to him, look, man, I want to switch to boxing because I can't do kickboxing anymore. Like my hips just keep giving out. And so like I remember after I had the fight with Bulldogs, and then it would have been like I was meant to fight again, I think November of that year or whatever it was, and then this whole hip thing happened, and then I switched to boxing, and I had been doing strength and conditioning with Ricky, so that's how I kind of met him. We all kind of trained in the same facility, and then I told him, hey man, I want to kind of switch, tell me what I got to do. Like I'm like treat me like a baby, that's what I told him. Treat me like a baby. Tell me what I got to do. I'll do whatever it is to get it. I remember my first sparring session, bro. I went in there with the kickboxing style. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was laughing when you said I got pumped, bro. I got fucking lit up, man. I got fucking lit up. I ended up fighting that April. I ended up stopping the guy in that fight. I actually fought at PCYC Blacktown. So I actually fought at the gym, Cohen and them trained. Yeah. But I remember that January, man, I went to the first sparring session. I got fucking pumped. I was the speed, the volume, just the ferociousness, right? And it was like you would know, right? With Muay Thai, you're so conditioned, right? 8 limbs. So it's not like you got so much to worry about. So that pace that the boxing has, where it's just hands and head movement, it's very different, right? I remember coming home. And the missus was at home, and I sat in front of the mirror, and I was just to myself and my thoughts. And I remember just telling myself, like, you better want this, motherfucker. Because if you don't want this, this is going to be a long fucking couple of months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna fucking die if you don't want this. You got to be really committed. And I remember by the time we fought in April, but by the time March came around, and bro, like everything's about the process. You got to trust the process, keep turning up, being consistent. Shit will turn, we'll go down that path. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, man, but I just remember thinking to myself, I've been training for 8-9 years, man. I've been sparring, you've sparred the guys at Bulldogs, and Robson and all those guys, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, man, I've fucking been in there, been in the trenches with some of these killers, fuck, what a wake up call, bro.
It's a different,
but like you said, bro, it wasn't an ego thing. It's just really woke me up and made me appreciate that all these different forms, you can't cheat it. Like you have to be married to it. And anyone that's married to it is always going to prevail and always going to stand above the crowd. It doesn't matter if you had experience in kickboxing, Muay Thai, you come to boxing. If you go from boxing to Muay Thai, that's even worse because your legs ain't even shin for half the shit. That's what I mean? Yeah. So that's even worse. But it's beautiful as well. You know what I mean? It's beautiful that it's that way because otherwise you don't like, there's always this conversation about dominant martial arts, but I don't want a dominant martial arts. I want all these different martial arts and people to be able to do what they want to do and be the best at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not have one form that's dominant. And that's really what that process taught me, was that I thought I had seen everything at that point, but then it was just got introduced to this whole nother level. You know what I mean? Which is fucking amazing. So I really understood when you said that, I was like, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. Cause I remember that transition of just finally understanding that pace and that, you know what I mean? And like you said, bro, like all these guys are amateur boxers, you know what I mean? But it's just fucking crazy. Yeah.
It's all the minute details as well. I didn't have bad hands. I didn't trust my hands, especially when I fought. Like I said, I was a kicker, puncher, kneer. I kick like a mule. Like I know I kick hard. And it was more, I just used my hands to set my kicks, and my hands were an afterthought. Then when I went to boxing, obviously boxing, like when I would boxing spar kickboxers, we're at the same pace still. We're at the same distance, everything. So I could tee them off, and like we're at the same speeds. Whereas going to boxing, everything, even the distancing, because in obviously Muay Thai kickboxing, usually like close. It's usually like a 1-for-1 type thing.
That's what I was going to say, like a chess match, right? Yeah.
Whereas boxing, the chess match, you guys are far apart. So when I was constantly trying, they were further away and bang, bang. And I was like, fuck, like I just not quick. I learned from the first jab. Like we walked in there and then Colin's like, oh yeah, who wants to go first? You or Jesse? I was like, oh, I'll go first. I'll get it over with. Put a headgear on. Like got in. And you've been to PCYC Blacktown.
Yeah.
The ring's there. Everyone's watching.
Yeah.
Like I know how to box. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
I had one pro boxing fight. Like my first pro boxing fight I took on 2 weeks' notice. I was lost by split points, but I was like, all right, whatever. I matched it. The first jab, bang, busted my nose. And I was like, what the fuck just hit me? I was like, holy fuck. And this guy, I can't remember, I think it's Mark Borg. He's like top 5, like Colin even said he's top 5 in Australia in the amateurs. And he's my division. Fucking bang, stiff jab, fast as fuck, blinked, missed it, was like, oh, I'm about to get fucked up. I was like, oh, all right. Like, lights me up with combinations, and I'm just standing there, stuck in the mud, no head movement, just trying to parry jab or jab at the same time, like, and I just couldn't match. I was trying to box him. Ended up getting blood all in my hair. I don't know, like the worst bleeding nose I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Underneath my eyelids, my eyes were sticking together, all down my chest, all over the headgear. It was everywhere. I just had brand new white boxing shoes as well. Fucked up my shoes.
Yeah.
And like, I think we went 1 round, they wiped it off. Went the second round and it was halfway through, or more than halfway. There was like 30 seconds left. And Colin's like, nah, bro, like we got to stop it. They wiped my face. Like, nah. I was like, there's 30 seconds. Just fucking let me finish the round. It's like, all right. And then that's where I learned. It was like, all right, now it's a fight. Because I was still treating it as like a 1-for-1, a technique type thing. Where I was getting fucked up. So then it was like, all right. And then I sort of like switched a little bit and made it a fight where I was sticking on his chest. I was moving, but not boxing move, but I was making it a fight. I was getting hit and I was making sure I was countering where I was trying to go boom, boom, like bounce before. And then I did way better. When I put him on the back foot and made him pressure, I did way better. And then it sort of clicked like, all right, I'm trying to box a boxer. I need to fight a boxer. And it's like, all right, cool. Because the difference was what kickboxing prepped me for was that toughness. Like getting hit and like being able to eat a shot, which isn't the best, but being able to take something, to give something, not just taking something and then backing up.
Yeah, because even taking something in boxing is a lot more, it's a lot more dangerous, right? Like in boxing, taking hits is like those fucking headshots, bro. Like, you know, when you get hit, it's just fucking, you know, your body tells you like, it's just that, because it's just sitting on it, right? They're sitting on their shots. They just, everything just flows off their body or their hips. And whereas you're very light on your feet in Muay Thai and stuff, right? Because you're prepared for everything, you know, you're prepared for to check kicks or
you
whatever.
Have to be a lot taller and like be ready to lift at the waist and stuff. You can't sort of center. So that's what it prepped me for, was to at least if I took something, I was like, nah, I got to give something. So that's the mentality I had. And that's like the last 30 seconds, I did way better than I did for 5.5 minutes. So I was like, all right, that's the game plan for the next fight. I was like, that's what I got to do. I just got to fucking make it a fight, make it messy, make it dirty.
Put that pressure. Yeah.
I just can't try and but. So, yeah.
Because I mean, even in boxing alone, there's different styles, right? There's people that are very good off the distance, in and out, and then there's also boxers like where I like the way that I was trained. You know, with the Bombers and with Rick and all of them, was like you're very in the pocket. The pressure, you learn to deal with the pressure. You learn to put pressure. So even off the first round, I remember they just you go to town, like you just fucking go hard and you blow your lungs. In the first round, just so that you get comfortable with the idea of just being in the fucking deep end, you know? And then it's like, and that was kind of Arnell's philosophy, was that once you're fucked, like that's when the beauty of boxing comes out, because then you're not thinking anymore. Everything's reaction, everything's movement, you know? So he used to take us to that spot where you fucked, like you straight off the first round, no feeling out process, nothing, like just volume, you just start fucking going hard, and then you just get fucked. And once you get fucked, then it's like, okay, now I know I'm fucked. My body's fucked. Everything's now got to be reaction, movement. Everything's just got to be like that. You know what I mean? Not too much thinking, kind of thing. So it was a massive like change, but it was like, I was very appreciative of it as well, because just to understand that there's different styles in boxing as well. Like there's people that like to, like you said, like, you know, especially I know with Rodney's, a lot of Rodney's fighters and stuff, they're very good with their head movement. They dance with their feet. And then there's also other boxers that kind of, you know, like your Triple G's and Canelo, like, you know, very close in and in power punches and put that pressure, and that can win you a fight as well. So you know, that is something that Muay Thai would have definitely trained you for, is that pressure and being able to put that pressure, you know what I mean? And then you realize like, oh shit, okay, like, you know, whereas if, you know, sometimes
I've never been as tired like in a boxing fight. Like even putting on the pressure for 5 rounds on a boxing fight non-stop, I've never been as tired as a 5-round Muay Thai fight. Like it's not just kicking itself is so much harder on the lungs and on like your energy. It's so much harder. So that's another thing. Being able to continually go hard, being fucked, just having your lungs hurt and just gasping for air, but still and still biting down and throwing hard rather than just like trying to be soft. But that's also trying to balance it because obviously going in too hard, get counted. They're a lot faster, like their eyes are a lot quicker, stuff like that. But what you said before about the feeling out round too. So I'm a slow starter. It's something I get grilled at all the time by Ren. Fuck, he yells at me in between rounds. Before the fight, he'll start yelling at me like, "Don't fucking start slow." Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I am a slow starter. Like that's just how I am. I'm a like methodical fighter. I prefer 5 rounds, a longer fight, a 10-round fight. I would fight. Like I like to see and think and react and get a feel of the fight before I just go boom. But in boxing, especially like a 4-round fight or even the 8-minute, it was a 3-round fight, and I haven't fought 3 rounds, and that was my first 3-round fight in like 2.5 years. And it was like, okay, I have to start faster. I have to. So getting used to just fucking go, and keeping a pace from bell to bell was something that I had to try and get used to as well.
It's just, yeah, man. It's just, it's good, man. I'm really glad you kind of articulated the way you did, because I try to explain that to people. You know, there's a sense of like, I don't know. I just find sometimes people want to kind of beat down that idea of oh, you know, it's like, oh, I'll show people I got hands, but like you gotta fucking respect them, man. Each sport and each boxing, like, you know, whether it's kickboxing, Muay Thai guys, you know, I just find sometimes there's this ideology that, you know, like you know, oh, like I'll show I got hands kind of thing, but man, it's a fucking whole nother game, you know. So the way you explained it, it was beautiful to see, because it shows that you understand and you respect it for what it is, but also understand that just because you've been in the game, a particular game for so long and fought and had all these fights, doesn't mean that you can just kind of walk into some other sport. You know what I mean? Even in combat sports, let alone like say for example, you know, Muay Thai and boxing, and then instantly get the gratification and instantly get that, you know what I mean? That's like, oh, the results that you think you're going to get, but you know, and you realize that, holy shit, like, and like you explained it, like in your gym, there's a sense of presence. They know, okay, fucking Cody, like he's the cream of the crop, like if I spar, you know what I mean? And you've earned the right to have that, right? Because you were once that person, you know what I mean? But then you go somewhere else. Yeah, there's a sense of respect.
There's that exactly. Like level. It's already like, all right, I don't want to overstep because he could fuck me up. Whereas another gym, who completely different sport, they don't give a fuck who I am. Any accomplishments, any fights, they're just like, all right, there's this, someone just wants to come in and spar, and then they just lit me up, and they're like, oh, whatever, like that's no big deal. And whereas me, it's like, oh, okay, fuck. It's the same as like high level rugby players. It's like you're not gonna go either NRL or fucking union. It's like, yeah, okay, they're similar, but they're completely different.
Different, 100%.
At the same time, the
100%.
pace, like, it's completely different sport. I see low level, like, so I'm a low level pro, right? Low level kickboxing and low level boxing, or like amateur, there's not going to be much difference. You can still, like, you can translate back and forth, and it's not going to be too detrimental. But the higher up you go, the better you are, naturally. So when you start getting to like the 1%ers, it's completely different sport. It's like you start going close together, and then it's fucking boom. And then you're not the same. It's not, nothing really translates. The only thing that translates is being hit. That's it. But the location of being hit, the speed, the power, like the defense, the timing, combinations, like my style didn't translate great to boxing.
Mm.
Other than the fact that I like to fight, like that, I'm okay with being in the middle. But even my eyes and my reaction time is a lot, like, was good for Muay Thai, being able to block kicks, counter kicks and whatnot. But it was just a different level in boxing because I couldn't, it wasn't just like the legs. So it was like a jab, different speeds, blah, 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 blah. Level changes were completely different, way faster. So my eyes had to adjust to a boxing speed level. And even then, like, it's not even at a high level. I'm at a lower level. So then the higher up I get, the faster it would be. Like, I'd end up just getting fucking snapped by everyone.
Pretty much like what you were dealing with at that point is almost like the basic fundamentals of boxing, bro. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
imagine someone takes the basic fundamentals and is actually a real professional at it. Everything you're dealing with is like times fucking whatever. You know what I mean? The head movement speed and even the way the punches are hidden. And one thing I realized is more so with the volume, but it's like not every shot is a stiff shot. Sometimes you're just setting up, it might be a light jab hook and then a strong cross, or a light cross and then a stiff jab, but it's just the way the way that it changes, the way that the punches and the pace of it and the power of it, as it gets better and you spar better guys and whatnot, you really realize how well they utilize it all. You know what I mean? But that pace was the biggest shock to the system for me. It was just like, holy fuck, like this, there's no like rest here. Like, it's just constantly on you, so
finding where to rest, being able to take a breath. Something Nathan Robson said that to me before I fought in Queensland. We all like went down and sparred there at Bulldog Castle Hill, and he was saying, like, I don't know where to rest. In Muay Thai, I know, like, certain spots I can get away with being a little bit lazier. Like, take that big deep breath. All right, I'm good. Whereas in boxing, it was so bang, 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 that it was overwhelming. Like, fuck, when am I going to have a rest? And it was learning the right times to be able to slow it, pick it up, slow it. And it's not even like I've learned it, obviously. No matter what level you're at, you still can get better. But it was that.
No, but it's just having to go through that to realize, 100%.
Yeah.
It's also like you realize, you realize as much as you give and as much as you're fucked. One thing I felt like I got really better at, which I really wanted to, was understanding when the guy that I was sparring was fucked as well. Because it's fucking got really good they got really good poker faces, you know what I mean? But you realize just as much as you're going hard, that they're going hard. And so when you realize you're fucked and you kind of taking a couple of deep breaths, chances are they are too. So it's finding those moments and utilizing those moments that kind of really opened my eyes. And because sometimes it's so easy to be like, man, why am I so fucked? Like, why am I the only one? Like, you know what I mean? But you realize like these guys have really good poker faces. They know when to rest. They know that, okay, they're taking the breath in. And so you kind of got to really, I felt like I realized you got to really utilize your time and you got to really make a move on them when you do have that opportunity, because it's you can really tell, like, as much as you're tired and you're fucked, that they are just as much, but it's just finding that moment and kind of, but
it's all mental. Fighting is mostly mental. Like that. It's like smiling when you get hit. It's like someone hits me, I'm gonna smile at you and laugh. It's like, okay, that might have hurt. And for me, I'm like, fuck, that hurt. I'm gonna smile. Whereas from their point of view, it's like, fuck, I just hit him so fucking hard. Why is he smiling? It's all that mental mind game.
Like, it's crazy.
I'm sitting there with a blank face, like, even when I'm fucking exhausted, still breathing through my nose, still pushing a pace. You're like, bro, when's he going to give up, blah, blah, blah. And then that doubt creeps in, and that's when people start crumbling. Because when they start having arguments with themselves, and it's like, oh, fuck. And then you see when people start crumbling.
What's kind of what's preparation like for you, bro? Like, what's a typical kind of fight week preparation for yourself? Like, not even just in the gym, but like a lot of guys have interesting stuff, like especially like to kind of emotionally, mentally, like spiritually kind of align themselves before a fight, whether it's, things like yoga or, meditation or whatever it is? Is there things that you kind of, what do you do? Number one, just to kind of get out of bed to stay motivated. But also like, what do you kind of do outside of just the training regime that to kind of mentally prepare yourself?
So I struggled mentally early on. When I was an amateur, so I had one fight when I was 14. He was against a 21-year-old from Full Force. Then I was meant to have my second fight against a 14-year-old. His name was Riley, and I hyped him up to everyone. I hyped him up. He was a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, but he was my own age, right? I put him on a pedestal where he was unbeatable. I started telling everyone, like, yeah, he's this, that. Like, I'm going to fucking put him in a body bag, like thinking I'm this, like, fucking God. But then I started letting doubt get into my head. And I started, like I said, putting him on a pedestal, thinking he was way better than he was, thinking he wasn't human, that he was going to kill me, blah, 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 blah. Night of the fight, you can ask Reinhardt about this, and I've told this before. I tell this to all the new amateurs coming through Full Force that struggle mentally. Night of the fight, got my hands wrapped up, got my gloves on, got my robe on, ready to walk out on first fight of the night. I have a panic attack and I bitch it. I fake an injury. I tell the doctor that I hurt my shoulder, and the doctor says I can't fight because I was scared, because I dehumanized him into this monster, into this bull cow, Yodson Klai, Senchai, fucking high up, John Wayne Parr level person that I couldn't beat. And I scared myself and I panicked and I cried, and Ren told me all these stories about him fighting, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack, but you're not thinking straight. It's just raw. I'm just like, fuck this, nut. I was saying to my stepdad, like, I'm a better trainer than I am a fighter. I'm 14. I've never trained anyone, but I'm just trying to make it less like scared. Like, I'm just trying to fucking find a scenario where I don't have to fight.
Yeah.
And I'm about to walk out to fight. Found out a way. Doctor came in, not fighting anymore. All right, sweet. Didn't fight for 2 years. I told everyone I was going to fight again. They all to my face were like, yeah, of course. Behind my back, they're like, nah, he's never doing it again. I found a way to humanize every single one of my opponents. I figured out, well, I didn't figure out, it's fucking basic, but I make sure I tell myself that they're only human. They all feel pain. They all bleed. They all get tired. They all get scared. They all have the same emotions that I am having. And whoever controls it the best, majority wins. I'll go up to my opponent at the weigh-in. I'll shake their hand and I'll touch them. Make sure I realize they're human. Because most of the time, you don't touch your opponent until you fight. So when you're seeing them, they're made of iron. They're made of concrete, like blah, 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 blah. Look at them. They're so ripped. They're so shredded. Like, even though you're ripped, you're shredded. You've trained hard. Because it's someone else, they start to become a god. You think someone else is always trained harder. Like, me and you could do the exact same thing. We could go do a 6K run. And so I did a 6K run yesterday in a 5-minute pace. To me, I look at that and I'm like, fuck, like only a 5-minute pace. That's fucking shit. If you post it and said you did a 6K run in a 5-minute pace, I'd be like, fuck yeah, he's pretty fit. But because it's me, I don't think it's very good.
I was going to say, bro, 5-minute pace is fucking good. So yeah.
I know, but me looking at that,
but
I'm like,
yeah,
nah,
I know you're
shit.
like, your expectation of yourself is different to what everyone else. Yeah.
So I make sure I go up, I shake their hand, I talk to them. How was fight camp? How you feeling? How was your weight cut? Blah, 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 blah. And I humanize them. Fight night, I see them. I go up to them. I shake their hand. Hey, bro, how'd you refeed? What'd you get for dinner? Like, how you feeling? Yeah, bro, can't wait. I'm so keen. Let's get in there. Instantly, we've got a connection now that we're human. I know he's always going to say, yeah, I had a good camp, bro. I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm the strongest I've ever felt. I'm going to say the exact same shit.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I've had opponents look at me being like, oh, bro, you look skinny. Like, you look skinnier than you ever have. Like, have you been training hard? Trying to play mind games. I'm like, yeah, bro, but I'll blow up tomorrow and I'll be bigger than you. Like, having that little, like, banter.
Yeah.
Because what scares people about fighting is the unknown. I can go to the gym with Jesse and we can punch on. I know what Jesse's going to do. He knows what I'm going to do. We do it every single week. It's fine. If someone new comes to the gym and we start sparring and it slowly escalates. All right, I land a good jab. He lands a good jab. It slowly picks up the pace. By the end of it, we're pretty much fighting. But because someone said, all right, you're going to fight this guy that you've never heard of or you've never trained with or whatever it is. Now, who is this guy? It's like, fuck. So humanizing them brings them back down to the same level. Then when we're in the ring, by that time, now I've got my own, like, I know when to switch on and I know that, so I didn't give a fuck. But in the ring, I'll go up to them, I'll bow, and I'll go touch their gloves. Boom, I'll touch them again. Good luck, bro. And I'll talk to them. Again, I'm taking any pressure off the situation that this is some big event, because it's not. It's just a fight. You ask, if Reinhardt rang me tonight and asked me to fight, I'd fucking say yes. It's that simple. Because it's just a fight. It's just another day. It's nothing that is out of the ordinary to be a fighter. A fight is a fight. So that's what I do to humanize them. And then I just train. I take every day as a training session. If I have a bad training session, that's fine. I'm not thinking I have 6 weeks until I fight. Like, every day needs to be good. They're not always going to be good. I'm just thinking, I just need to train today. Oh, I'm fucked. I'm exhausted. It's Friday. I've trained hard for 4 days. I could have today off. Do I need today off? Or am I just being a bitch? If I need the day off, I'll have the day off. I don't care. Sometimes I'm really run down and I need it off. But most of the time, I'm just being a bitch. Just go train. I don't even care if it's a hard session. As long as I'm getting in IQ sessions where I'm still moving, I'm still sweating, my brain's still ticking over.
Yeah, you'd have to go 0 to 100. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, yeah,
and that's something that I'm learning about, especially being super active. Like, I'm fit, fucking 52 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
So it's being just having that mind tick over and still getting sharp, even when my body's not breaking down. So I'm still learning about the sport, about techniques, and just going through the motions. But then when it's time to fucking have a good day, like, fuck yeah, like,
crank it up.
I'm pushing today, like, like, I'm fucking running myself into the ground.
Yeah, I feel like those days come about better as well. Like, I mean, like you said, man, there's an advantage of being active. There's an advantage of being fit all year round, right? That you get to have these little sessions, which I feel like you need those sessions, those ones where you're not cranking your body to the extreme, but you're just focusing on, whether it's single shots, whether it's movement, whether it's whatever. Yeah, it's slow and repetitive, but they're some of the best sessions too, because you just get to really, like, I was holding pads for one of these guys. He hasn't had a fight. He's thinking of having a fight, but he was saying, man, I really love these sessions with you. And I said to him, the reason you like them is because you get to really break them down. You don't have to sit there and chase the clock in like a normal kind of class setting, when you're training with everyone, where you got 3 minutes and you just boom, boom, boom. And you're not even focusing on your footwork. Or you're not even focusing on what am I really doing here, whereas if you have those sessions where you get to, that's what I say, it's always I always used to do privates with Jay, and I do privates with Ricky and stuff, and I always just have these one-on-one sessions. I always wanted a one-on-one session because I feel like they're the best ones, where you get to really break everything down. You're not just you're just not too busy chasing a clock, you know what I mean? And then you get to really focus on it. So you need them, and there's an advantage behind just being active, because you get to have those little sessions in between as well. But that's pretty fucking interesting, man. Like, how you kind of broke down how to humanize them and talking to them, and because that's half the battle, right? Like, I had a fight June 19th, and I've gone up in weight. This is the first time. I normally fight a 69 kilo super welter, right? But because I'm older and I'm in the amateurs, I want to be a bit more active. And I got a bub on the way as well in November, and I don't know what life is going to be like post that. So I was like, fuck, you know what? I just want to fucking be active and get all this out of my system, because like I've been training for like 12 years. I've been in and out of the gym 6 days a week. I've been so blessed and lucky to train with professional athletes, train like them, eat like them, understand, preparation like them. And that's where like kind of everything I'm doing now with my podcasting and stuff with athletes comes from, because I've been in there and I've seen what these guys are going through. I see what they sacrifice. And I was like, man, like these stories got to be told, you know what I mean? And that's where the inspiration came from. If I never went through it, I wouldn't know it, you know what I mean? And that interest wouldn't be there to be like, fuck, I want to tell these stories. So, but I remember, so like now I've been competing at 75 kilos and I'm learning to kind of move my weight a little bit different. And I'm learning all that aspects. And it's funny because I was telling my brother, my older brother, he's a massive fighter. And I was saying, you think just because you don't have to, cut as much weight that you're like it's all good, but you still got to fucking learn how to move this weight, because it's moving. Like when I was 69, like literally in hindsight it seems like the easiest way out, because you eat really really clean. Not that I don't eat clean, but like really restrictive, where it's like almost like tuna's your fucking main diet for me, right? But you move like a feather, and it's almost like I don't know. Now I look back, I haven't appreciated for what I'm trying to do now, because I feel like the easy way out is to cut down to a lightweight where I know I'm safe, and you know what I mean? Whereas now, like the last two guys I fought, I haven't felt power like that ever in my life, bro. You know what I mean? So it's
a couple of kilos is a lot.
Yeah, bro. So like I was like my first fight, I felt like I burnt myself out a bit leading into that fight. So that's why it was interesting listening to you about knowing training smart and whatever, and knowing when you got to rest and whatever. But there's a beauty, like now just being able to compete at 75. It's so good because it's the first time I was meant to fight July 31st. It would have been the first time that I would have had like 3 fights in like 15 weeks. I've never been able to do that. Not out of my own doing, just because other things take, fighting has never been like, I want to be world champion or whatever. It's always been that I want to test myself, like that's always been for me, like, but I always want to fight good guys. Like I've always wanted to fight. And the last guy that I fought, he came out of Stand Strong Boxing, and I had a bunch of opponents, and I was like, man, I want to fight this guy because I know his coach is legit. You know what I mean? Justin. So, and I remember, and you were talking about how like you're humanizing him and whatnot, and I remember seeing the photos, and this guy was fucking, bro, he was tanked. And I was like, fuck, these guys are so big. Like the guy I fought before that was huge, man. I remember he got into the ring, I looked at his arms, and I remember telling myself, I was on the other corner, and this was the end of May of this year. And I was like, man, these cunts are feeding me to the fucking big dogs now. Like, you know what I mean? And this guy's standing in front of me, and he's just got big arms, and I'm thinking, fuck me, bro. And even though I lost that May fight in decision, I saw that he was fading, right? And then I remember going to the dressing room, and I was sitting down, and like it was a fucking shit show in the sense like you couldn't bring people, and they were only selling like table tickets and shit. So fucking it was like an amateur show as well. I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like, and then I rang her missus, everything. I'm like, it's all good. Like she had to come pick me up because it was a Windsor show, and I live up in Box Hill. So I was like, just come grab me, and it's all good. But there was this, and it had been about 2 years because I quit work and I quit training and everything after that boxing fight I told you about, where I stopped to do that PCYC, that fight, to focus on building this Mercer Entertainment and building all of this. I spent a year and a half, man, blew up in weight like you do, like all fighters do. Like, you know what I mean, and everything. And then this fight in June, I was like, this dude just looked big, and I was like, and then the first round, he just came at like 100 kilometers an hour, and I remember I got hit and I got rocked, and I remember just everything, right? You know what it's like when you get rocked. And my family was there, everyone was there, and the first round went, and I do things like I've been lucky enough, like with Rick and stuff. I've learned things like qigong, like things to kind of help you with your breathing, with your anxiety through breathing and things like that. So I'm very big on that stuff. Hence why I asked you a question about how you prepare yourself for fights and stuff. So, and I went to the corner, and I remember taking a deep breath, and I remember telling myself, like, man, this is going to be an amazing story, because now I know I have to come back to win this fight, right? Because he's had such a strong first round. Bro, by the third round, he was hanging on me. He was on the rope, and it was a split decision. Ended up being a split decision, but he was on the ropes, I reckon another minute, definitely another round, he was out of there. Like he was out of there. And this dude was bigger than me. And he was hanging off the ropes by the third round because I knew I'd been there. Like mentally, like you were talking about mentally, like I can understand that because to me, I felt like this guy looked at me and looked at probably the size of me compared to him and thought, man, I'm going to run through this motherfucker. You know what I mean? And and then like he ended up getting the decision. But when we were sitting in the back, I was laughing and I was a bit disappointed because I felt like the second and third round, like I did really well, like compared to him because he was huffing and puffing and whatever. And he was a big dude. But the point I was trying to make was like what you were saying, like in the end, I realized he's just fucking human. He's human like anyone. Yeah. I don't care if he's brawn. Yeah. Boxing is not for the brawn. It's for the most intelligent. So in the second and third round, I kept hitting him in the body, in the liver, because I wanted to mess his breathing up, right? It's something that, you know, obviously in boxing, it's a big part of your asset. And I kept doing it, believing in the process. In the third round, he was out, man. Like he was by the time, the last 20 seconds, I just, you know, like you have, you know, like when you train in the last 20 seconds, you train yourself to sprint, right? You know, like, okay, 20 seconds left or 10 seconds left. You hear that,
you hear that clapper.
And then you just fucking, and I just knew, and I've always trained and known that, okay, second I hear the clapper, it's all in, like, just you know, and he was just rolling back and he fell on the ropes. And I remember I was a bit disappointed because I was so happy that like, and now I've taken this challenge and I'm reinvigorated, like fighting at a higher weight. And I saw you put a post about how you're really enjoying fighting a different weight and you know, like being able to be more active because of it and whatnot. And I'll get to something that you said that I really appreciated as well. I'll get to it. It was in a post that you said, but yeah, and then we were sitting in the back and we're all laughing and whatever. And I was like, man, and everyone thought, like even people from other gyms, like that were watching it, thought I got really hard done by. He eventually comes over. And he's huffing and puffing still, bro. And it's been 20 minutes since the fight. Like, and I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? And I knew in those tough circumstances, like some people, man, they shy away. And I always say, there's so many people that would have waved the white flag, right? Especially when I got rocked by this guy. Like he hit me with a good shot. And I was like, damn, like he hit me hard. But when I saw him withering away by the third round, I said to myself, fuck, like I got excited. Ever since that fight, I've been excited because now I know that I do have the power and the strength and the will to take on these guys at this weight. I've just got to learn that's why you were talking about running. That's why I've been setting a goal to be able to move my weight and run as fast as I was when I was at 69 kilos competing. You know what I mean? So that I can move this body, like we were saying, like just because you go up in weight and don't have to cut as much means shit, because you got to still be able to move that weight the same way. Yeah. And so he came over
efficiency.
Efficiency. Exactly, bro. And like, he came over to me and he's like, bro, he goes, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I shouldn't have won that fight. Like, he goes, you know, you won that fight, man. He goes, I was fucked. And he goes, if I could swap medals with you, I would. I was like, look, man, I don't do this shit for medals. Like, I chose to fight you, you know, and I told him this to his face. Like I had like, you know, because I knew the promoter, I knew Paul Nazari, and he had sent my coach a few names. And I said, man, this guy, because I know he comes from a really good gym. And I know that he's had a few fights. He's had an MMA fight, but he's had a few boxing fights as well, like 4 or 5. So I knew that like his coach is legit because he's Robert Whittaker's boxing coach too. So I knew, like, you know, fucking all you have to look at how well he's doing lately. So and then we were having a chat and he kind of came and he, you know, he's like, yeah, and bro. And then my coach goes to me, like he whispers into my ear after he kind of walks off, after he talks to me, he goes, all you have to do, bro, is look at how you're behaving right now and how you're feeling. And just look at him when he came around. He was still gasping for breath. You're here smiling and laughing and talking loud. And it's been 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's been 20 minutes since you guys fought. And like, you know, and then he ended up buying me a beer and he was telling me, he's like, man, hands down, bro. He goes, you're the toughest guy I've ever fought. He goes, normally I come forward and kind of no one ever wants to come forward back. He goes, I've never had someone that's decided to fucking play the same game, like, you know what I mean? And he goes, when that happened, like eventually in the second or third round, he realized like you hit that wall, you know, and something that
he wouldn't have been there before.
Exactly.
What was past
and that's what he said. He goes, you're the first guy that's ever done that to me, like, you know, and it's something that I learned at with the Bombers is it's like the beach, it's like the wave, right? You hit a wave, then another wave comes. You hit that wave, another wave comes. So it's getting used to the idea that you're fucked, but you're going to find your way through, and then you're going to get yourself back.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be that, you know what I mean? And you're going to find your way through it, you know, that little period, and you're going to, you know, hit that wave, and then there'll be another wave, but you'll get through it, you know? And I believed in that process, and I programmed myself to know that when adversity hits, I'm going to find a way through it. You know what I mean? And you tell yourself that. And that's what I told myself in the second and third rounds. I took a deep breath, lowered my heart rate, and said, you know what? This is going to be a beautiful story to tell everybody when I come back and I fucking beat this guy, because that's what it's going to take for me to do this, you know? But the fact, and you know more than anyone, you probably experienced it more than a lot, is that, you know, bro, if someone's willing to come up and say that they lost, that gives you an idea of how the fight went. You know what I mean? Like, for a fighter to go up to someone, even if they won, and tell them, man, I shouldn't have, but he said, like, he goes, man, I was fucked. He goes, I was fucked. He goes, my gas tank blew. But when my gas tank blew, I got comfortable with the idea that, man, it's all good. It's going to come back, you know, like that first round when things were really fast. But, yeah, I know it was kind of a segue, but it was kind of touching onto you talking about humanizing people. And that's kind of, ever since that fight, there's been a different sense in myself, because I'm like, man, you know, like, yeah, these guys are strong, but they're vulnerable as well, man. They're just, you know what I mean? When it comes to, and I remember my brother, you know, being a Tamil, being a person from my culture, like, that's why I want to open doors for my community, but more so that what I embraced is that there's not a lot of people from my background that are in combat sports, let alone that do fighting. And there's not many that I know. So, you know, like early inception days, you go into gyms and whatever, and it's not like that people are doing it on purpose, but there's a subconscious thought, right? When you see people, right? It's just, we're humans, bro. Like, if a big dude saw you in the street, they were like, oh, look, what's this scrawny kid going to do to me? You know what I mean? Like, and the big dude's going to find out very quickly what this scrawny kid can do to him. You know what I mean? But it's not till that situation happens. So for me, I felt like there was always this subconscious idea of where I'm from, and my, you know, and you know, curries, and, you know, and this perception of it. So I used to embrace that. So I used to go to gyms, and it's funny, like, especially like after a few sparring sessions, even boxing, whatever, it goes from like, hey man, to hugs. You know what I mean? Like, it goes to hugs, you know what I mean? And you could tell the level of respect.
You get the respect.
You know? So like, that thrived. I get a thrive out of that. I get a fucking kick out of that. And that's what drives me, because I'm like, I know that there's a misconception of it. And I want to prove that wrong. And then I want to open up doors where a lot of people from migrant backgrounds or whatever, they kind of like, they detuned a little bit, you know, their belief in what they think they can do is very suppressed, you know what I mean? And if, you know, when you understand history and your history and whatnot, you realize that you are fighters. That's where you come from, you know? So you just got to unlock it. And that's kind of, like, and I always felt in fights, even my first kickboxing fight, it was a ripped, like a Syrian dude in what's his name's show in Bonnie Rigg Sports Club. That was my first ever amateur fight, like fucking yonks ago. But I could see in his face, he was like, thought he was gonna fuck me. And don't get me wrong, he fucked me. Like, he tore my knee apart, right? Because I was like scrawny and this dude was ripped. And I remember I lost that first fight, but I remember him hugging me at the end of the fight, and he whispers into my ear, he goes, bro, you took me to hell tonight. And then someone heard him on the front row going, man, I thought I lost this fight. You know what I mean? And a few guys in the back. So that's what kind of got me up. Just that idea that, okay, there's this misconception, I'm going to fucking prove everyone, like, you know what I mean? That's why for me, like, medals and belts, like, that's not, for me, it's like, I want to prove that and then set that platform, you know? But the one thing that
a few of my fight, like, I don't cut a lot of weight when I fight. I walk around pretty fit most of the time. I don't do drastic cuts, so I can be super active. I can enjoy my life. I can do all that shit. So most of the guys I fight are fucking units, especially like in that 8-man, like Charlie, Samed. I think I was like the second smallest guy. I think the only other guy was smaller than me was NASA. I woke up I think I weighed in at 77.3, and it was a 78 kilo fight. I ate on the plane. I ate breakfast. I had weigh-in snack.
Which is so weird, eh? It's so weird, eh?
It's so weird. Like even for my Commonwealth title, that was
Yeah.
at 79 kilos. I think I
Yeah.
weighed in at 70, 78. And same thing, I ate the day of. Like I don't cut a lot of weight. So most of the guys are bigger, they're ripped. And like I'm not the most ripped. I don't have the biggest muscles. I'm a fucking tall, lanky, skinny kid. And it's that challenge. Like I can't even say how many people, I can think of like 5 people off the top of my head that I've come home from weigh-ins and my mum's been like, "You're fucked." Like, really? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I'll be like, it's fine, bro. Like, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Or like, I'll see people when they get in the ring the next night and I'm like, bro, what the fuck do you weigh? Like, how are we the same weight? Like,
Mm,
you're huge. And then like either I'll win or like Samed, like I lost to Samed, but
mm,
it's like, fuck, like, all right, you're bigger, but it's not really,
mm.
it doesn't really matter. Like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
yeah, man. It really did. Like, it really taught me something that even though he was big, like my brother. That's what like my brother said to me. Like afterwards, he was like, he goes, when it really came down to it, he goes, what really shined in that fight, he goes, was your heart, bro. He goes, your heart shined. He goes, when it came down to it and who wanted it more, it was so clear as day who wanted it more, because of how that
Yeah.
fight ended. And it was just something that made me realize that you could be brawn, you could be big, you could be whatever, but fighting is not for those people. Fighting is for the intelligent, smart, fucking people with heart and a strong mindset, because
Yeah.
things aren't always going to go to plan. And when things aren't going to go to plan, you have to make that decision, whether you're going to keep going or whether you're going to be like, wave the
Yeah.
fucking flag and be like, nah, man, I've had
Yeah.
enough. One thing you've been embracing a lot, man, which I really like, and it's an interesting conversation I had with Richie Craney, who I had on yesterday, the IMAF founder, and he was talking about a lot of the pathway systems he's creating for MMA athletes, from amateurs and whatnot, is also to teach kids to understand how to handle losses and know that losses is part of winning, and learning how to deal with it, and knowing that none of this pat in the back, and like I said, in my post after my fight, I was like, man, I don't want participation awards. Like when I train, I'm training
Yeah.
to win. I'm training to put my
Yeah.
best foot forward. Like I don't want a medal just because I got to act,
For showing
participate.
up.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
like I lost that medal from that fight. Like my wife was like, where is it? I said, I don't know. And I don't care. Like we ended up finding it,
Yeah.
but like, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't think, like, I didn't like, oh, you look, I got a medal kind of thing, although it's always nice to have a memory that this is what you did, right? Because as you get older, like that's, memories is such a big part.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was talking about these systems, and because you had been so active, right? And obviously there were losses along the way. Like there was a post that you put, like, that you really embraced the fact that taking L's is just part of life. Like you got to
Yeah.
take L's, right? And the safe option would be to compete at your weight, do the dieting, do the everything, be the guy, be like, be well nutritioned, and be maybe a bigger guy at your weight, and know what's coming. Be comfortable with knowing what's coming, as opposed to going to different, like you said, weight classes and competing with different people with different body sizes, shapes, strength, and whatnot. And then testing yourself. And one thing I was telling him yesterday was, there's this real new fucking wave of people trying to be undefeated, and if you're undefeated, you're legit. You know what I mean? If people have taken L's, they don't even like being talked in the same level. And not saying
Yeah.
that they're not, but that's, I was saying that's the vibe I get when I'm, when you're on the gram and you see people get celebrated for undefeated records, and you know what I mean, and people with L's aren't, kind of seen the same way. It's like you have to be almost undefeated to be a legitimate fighter, which I find is a fucking joke, right? Because it's really, end of the day, it's perception, and it's also, you got to look at this situation like, you don't have to go to 78 kilos, bro. You get what I'm saying? You don't have to. If you
Yeah.
really, and like, if you really want, you could go to the weight that you're gonna be the best at. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you'll do the weight cuts, you'll do everything, and the chances are that at least minimum 70% of the time you're gonna do really well. You know what I mean? In that weight.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Because that was the beauty of you actively fighting, was just that you went to boxing, you went to kickboxing, you went to Muay Thai, you did everything, and and you didn't really give a shit. Like, and some people, I feel like, they call it padded records, but they really try to protect their record. You know what I mean? And I find the
Yeah.
sense that you don't really have that issue, and you don't really have that, that problem with trying to protect your record. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not like my Muay Thai, like kickboxing record, is 18-3, and my boxing record is 1-2. So I had one amateur boxing fight, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
It's 1-2 as a pro boxer and 18-3 as a kickboxer, Thai boxer, whatever. So like all up, I'm 19-5. Yeah, 19-5. It's not about the wins. Like I fucking hate losing. I hate losing. I am a sore loser. I fucking like it burns me. But it's not like fuck the judges. The judge, like that's their fault. Like blah blah. I take all the blame on myself. Like every single one of my fights, I don't think there's one single fight that I can look at and enjoy. I'm so hypercritical on myself that, like my first state title, I won first stoppage. I won by body kick KO in 1:59. So it was still 2-minute round. So first round, stopped him. And I wasn't happy because I wasn't sore after the fight. Like there was, I don't know. I've got this weird thing that the win and the loss, like it matters, but it doesn't really matter. I don't want to fucking be 0-10 or like 1-10.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be a journeyman.
Yeah.
But I want to fight the best, and the best are going to come with losses. Like there's, if I rock up on a good day, it's going to be hard to beat me. But if I rock up on a bad day and you're on a good day, what are the odds that I actually beat you, bro? Like there's, it's the flow, and it's like, all right, what's the rule set? Boxing. Okay, I lost my first 2 boxing fights against boxers. I won against Tanner. He's a kickboxer, and we fought boxing. That was a good level test to be like, all right, I'm better than kickboxers boxing, but I'm not quite at the A class of boxing yet. So I need to improve. So, and both of them, like I only boxed for 8 weeks. My first one I took on 2 weeks notice. I lost. The second one I had 4 weeks. Like I trained for 4 weeks. And then the third one I had 4 weeks again. So it's like, I have a standard of myself that I think I need to do better, always, win or loss. Each time, whether it's a loss, a win, I learn from it. No matter what, I pick it apart. And I've said to a few people, the way I watch my fights, I watch them as a fan, because I think I shouldn't always look at it negatively. It should be positively. And at the end of the day, I'm an entertainer. People buy tickets to see me fight. So I'm not always going to be in bad fights. Like I don't want to take damage, but I want to be in exciting fights. So I watch it as a fan and just enjoy the whole thing. Enjoy the give, the take, the flow, getting like all that stuff. I look at it to be critical of myself, like what I did wrong and what I did right, and where I can improve. And I look at myself if I'm trying to beat myself. Like if I watch a video and be like, how would I beat me? It's like, all right, I'm dropping my hands here, or I'm fighting more defensively. So I'm going to cut off the ring. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Wherever, how I would beat myself is how I'm going to train now to try and improve to beat that version, you know? So it's not, I don't think it's like so much of the wins and losses, more the performance. But at the end of the day, I want to win. I always want to win. But yeah, if I'm fighting the best and I'm losing, like you look at the best fighters, like withstanding like fucking Mayweather and shit, but the best Thai boxers, they all lost, but it's all against good guys. Like there's very rarely someone with like a 20-1 record, like well, I mean, it's like 50-1, like whatever. You think all the people in my division, all the best people, Charlie Barb, Toby Smith, like all of them, they've all lost fights. I think Toby has like 10 losses on his record. I think Charlie has about 10 losses on his record. Like they're still losing, but it's against the top.
Exactly.
So I'm okay with that.
You're chasing the best, right? So with that comes the ups and downs. You know what I mean? But it's also end of the day, you can turn around and say, I didn't pick, I didn't take the safe route. I went straight to the fucking eye of the tornado kind of thing. You took,
and you get more respect. Like I got more respect from when I fought that boxing fight in Queensland. I got stopped in either the 4th or the 5th round. Yeah, that guy was 3-0, 3 first round knockouts, all professional boxers. However many amateur boxing fights he's had, and I was his toughest fight. Like on paper, we knew going up there he was like Queensland champ. I didn't know he was 3-0, 3 knockouts, but we knew he was tough. Like regardless, he was good. And going up there, I knew like I could get bashed here. Like it is what it is. I'm going up. But fuck this guy. Like I want to make an upset. Like that's how. And I got dropped like 4 or 5 times. But there was no way. If that was to the death, I was winning. Like there was no way you were getting out of it. I took him furthest. I've tested him the most. I gassed him. I rocked him. That was on a 4-week training camp, and I'm not a boxer when I fight kickboxing. I'm a kickboxer. Like I kick. So it was like that test was like, no, fuck this guy. Drive forward. Got dropped. Like I seen Ren was going to throw in the towel after like the 2nd or 3rd drop, and I looked over in the corner. He grabbed the towel, and I was like, And I was like, nah. I got up. Even like after the 2nd time I got dropped, all I heard was Jesse and Ren in my corner, and they were just like, just go to war. It's time to go to war. And I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. Just walked forward. Yeah, I lost, but I found an extra level of myself.
100%. Yeah.
It was just like, fuck this. Like, regardless, I know that I'm not going to give up. And there's something when you look at someone at the weigh-ins and stuff like that in the ring, you can see in their eyes, like if they're breakable. And I know that I'm not breakable. I know you can't break me. Like, so win or loss doesn't matter, but I know waving that white flag, I would hate myself if I waved that white flag because I've already done it once. I crumbled once and I filled that crack with cement and that was never going to happen again. I know that's never going to happen again. You can ask me to fight tonight against X, Y, and Z at X, Y, and Z weight class. Okay. But I might get bashed and I might be scared, but I am not folding and I'm not waving that white flag.
But yeah, man, look, I won't take too much of your time, man. It was really interesting chatting to you, bro. Like, obviously we've been talking about it for a minute now, and I just felt like the stars kind of aligned now. But man, yeah, man, it's really is an interesting story. And what are kind of some of your goals, man? You just trying to stay busy, get the best fights, and then kind of knock them down one at a time.
Trying to grow like myself, my brand. Just trying to get bigger fights, bigger names, bigger opportunities. Just enjoy like my life, bro. That's it. Just enjoy fighting. I'll just fucking live the life that I want, be happy.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely link up soon, man. We'll get in, we'll hopefully come out of this COVID, and then we'll hopefully end of the year we'll see how it all plays out, man. And there's other things that I do as well. Like you talk about trenches. It's funny. I created it. I actually did it with Ricky. He's the only one I've done it with so far, just because things haven't kind of planned out with other fighters. But I created a little series similar to like UFC Embedded, where it's called Inside the Trenches. And we got it because of me and him training and just, like that mindset of being inside the trenches when I used to train with him. So, or when I trained with him, but, it's kind of like, it's actually on my YouTube, and it's like, 15 minutes or so, but you kind of dive into, I dive into the whoever it is, the athletes training camp, talk to their coaches, their training and all that, and kind of build something around it leading up to their fight. Or, it doesn't even have to be a fighter. It could be a track athlete for all I know, but being fighters, because just, that's who I'm really connected to. Yeah. But yeah, man, hopefully in the future we can line something up like that, man. I'm only next door as well, so Blacktown's not far. So hopefully, couple of sessions come in and we could do some work together for sure, bro. But I really appreciate 100%. You giving your time, man. It was awesome, man, and I appreciate you sharing the story, man. And I'm sure we'll chat soon, bro. Yeah, for sure, bro. I appreciate it, honestly. Legend. Thank you, bro. All good, bro. Quick shout out to all my sponsors as well. Yeah, for sure, bro. Big Red's Nutrition. She does all my nutrition. Fuck, I've never eaten so much and eaten so well and weighed so little in my life. So massive shout out to her. Christy Mouth Guards. They sorted me out with all my fight gear, all my fight mouth guards. Has from the gym sorted me out with all my training gear, training equipment. So I appreciate him. Tyrell from Fight Effects Strength and Conditioning. He sorts all my strength and conditioning. I think that's it.
So thanks
For
to all
sure,
those
man.
guys.
For sure. Shout out to all
Yeah.
those guys. Yeah. That's awesome, bro. Well, keep doing your thing, bro. I don't have to tell you much. I'm sure you're already on top of it, but I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. Seeing us come out of this COVID and seeing you continuing, bro, on this little active streak that you're on at the moment. Yeah. But yeah,
Thanks, bro. I
man,
appreciate it.
all the best, brother. Keep doing it. Keep your head up, man. And yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Thanks, bro.